Welcome dear students. I hope you are all safe in this quarantine times. So the last lesson we have studied about the nuclei as well as the book numericals and examples. So now we are going to start the new lessons, that is semiconductor electronics. Okay. So nowadays we are in the digital world and most of our need is mostly fulfilled by the electricity. This electricity mainly used in the electrical and many electronic devices. So the devices made the human task very easier. Okay, before the discovery of electricity, everything is only man-made, but nowadays full of machine-made. Okay, so mostly the electricity plays an important role in which the electrons, that is a charge carriers, which is mainly used in these devices. So whatever the device you consider, the device should maintain the control flow of electrons. Okay, then only it is used in the circuits. Example, you take a TV remote, it have a simple circuit, or the torch light. Okay, the ordinary torch light, we will use the cell, no? Yes, so ordinary torch light that have a simple circuit. So the circuit should have a control flow of electrons. Okay, so a device which is used the control flow of electrons mostly obtain the basic building blocks of every electrical circuits. And before the discovery of transistor, so transistor means olden days it was used, but nowadays it was simplified into IC, that is integrated circuits, which means integrated circuits. So the ICs are nothing but the combination of many transistors, capacitors, resistors and so and so. Okay, we know that in earlier days the computer was very huge in size, like our room size. Okay, but nowadays it was become very compact and the function also very rapid. It's all done by the technology. Mostly the ICs are involved. Integrated circuits, that means a combination of many transistors, capacitors, resistors and so on. So okay, so the transistors are used before 1948. Before the discovery of transistor, in 1948, most devices have vacuum tubes. So most of the devices have vacuum tubes. Most of the devices have vacuum tubes. The vacuum tubes are also called valves. It is also called as valves. Okay, so this vacuum tubes that contains two electrodes. It contains two electrodes. One is anode, another one is cathode. This already we have studied in a dual nature. Okay, so this is the vacuum tube, that is a valve looks like this, the thick walled glass tube which was fused by removing the air. So this is a vacuum tube. In this vacuum tube, one side the cathode is used, another one side the anode is used, and the cathode is connected to high potential with the help of a rheostat. Okay, so inside this vacuum tube, the cathode is heated with a negative potential, then electrons are ejected. These ejected electrons moves towards a positive charge anode. So the conductivity is possible. Suppose if you vary the potential across these electrodes, then the flow of charge carrier also maintained. But only one drawbacks, this occupies more size. Okay, the best example for this vacuum tubes is CRT, which means cathode ray tube. You know the Kalaignar television. Yes, the Kalaignar television is an example for the CRT. And in olden days we used a computer monitor. It was like a box size. So that is also an example of cathode ray tube. Okay, so the cathode ray tubes are not used nowadays. Actually it was replaced by the LCD and LED nowadays which we are using. Okay, and these have many drawbacks. Moreover, the electron act as a charge carrier. This is responsible for the mobility that can be maintained by the varying potential between these electrodes. So here two electrodes are used, one is anode and cathode. We may also have the triode, tetrode and pentode. So in triodes we have a cathode, plate and grid. So these are the three electrodes are there. Similarly in a tetrodes 4 electrodes are there, and in a pentodes 5 electrodes are there. Okay, these are the other types of it. Then in this case the electron always flows in one directions. Electron flows only in one directions, and that can be, the flow of electrons can be controlled by the applied potential, and it can be controlled or maintained by applied external potential between the electrodes, the external potential between the electrodes. So it has some drawbacks. What are the drawbacks? The size is very big. Okay, first one, the walls, that is vacuum tubes, these are all bulky, bigger in size and operated with a high voltage. And then it consumes high power. Also it have a limited life. And a low reliability. So these are the drawbacks of the CRT. Okay, so the CRT is replaced nowadays by the solid state semiconductor electronics. So about the solid state semiconductor electronics only we are going to see. So this is only the introductions. So we are not going to see any transistors in this lessons, only the solid state semiconductor electronics we are going to see. So that solid state semiconductor electronics in that which can vary the flow of the electrons, also we can change the directions, but here the electron flow is always in one directions. Okay, so this is on drawbacks, and the number of electrons also controlled by the external potential. But in solid state semiconductor devices we may vary the direction of the flow of electrons, and also we can maintain the number of electrons which is from the cathode to anode, so that only it become more advantageous, which is the solid state semiconductor electronics. Okay, so what are the advantages of solid state semiconductor electronics? That is totally opposite. So in a solid state semiconductor electronics, that controls the mobile carriers and also their directions. So example, the CRT which we used in earlier days, that can be replaced by, CRT is replaced by LCD and LED. So this only we are using nowadays, LCDs and LEDs. So these have more advantages. It consumes less power and operate with the low voltage, They are very compact and more reliable and high life and more reliable and faster than the CRT. Okay. In earlier days, mostly we used radios. So the radios are in the radios mostly we used transistors. So to receive the radio signals, a metal pipe, the metal pipe ends that have one substance. This is naturally occurring galena, that is lead sulfide. So the galenas are attached to the metal pipe. So these metal pipe that receives the radio waves. So in earlier days, radios are function by receiving the signals like this only. So the radio waves are received by these antennas. These are all antennas. So the antennas are nothing but the metal pipe fitted with the galena at the corners. The galena is a naturally occurring galena. So these will receive radio waves quickly. So but more noises are added in it. But nowadays the process is done more rapidly and become more reliable with the help of the solid state semiconductor electronics or devices. So about that only we are going to see in a detail. Next one is classification of materials. So how materials are classified? We know that basically the three types of material based on the conductivity and resistivity. Okay, what is the relation between conductivity and resistivity? So the resistivity is rho and the conductivity is sigma. So the resistivity, which is always equal to reciprocal of conductivity. Okay, so based on the conductivity and resistivity, the materials are broadly classified into three types. Based on resistivity, that is rho, comma conductivity, materials are classified into three types. Materials are classified into three types. One is the metals, the second one is semiconductor, the third one is insulators. This already we have studied from our lower classes, we are studying this. So metals, semiconductors and insulators. So in the metals, it have high conductivity and low resistivity. So the resistivity value is between 10 to the power minus 2 ohm meter to 10 to the power minus 8 ohm meter. So it has very less resistivity, but the conductivity is inverse, no? Yes. So which is inverse. So the conductivity is just inverse, 10 to the power 2 to 10 to the power 8 Simon meter inverse, okay, or more inverse. Okay, so this is for metals. So in the metals mostly the electrons are responsible, so which is mainly the mobile carriers in metals. So the semiconductors have, in a semiconductors it have moderate resistivity and the conductivity. So in the semiconductors it is 10 to the power 5 to 10 to the power 6 ohm meter. So this is the resistivity in semiconductors, whereas the conductivity is just inverse, no? So 10 to the power 5 to 10 to the power minus 6 Simon meter inverse. The next one, the third one is insulators. So in insulators, mobile carriers are very less, almost negligible, and for most of the metals are good example for the conduction of electricity as well as heat. But in the semiconductor it have a moderate mobile charges, but in insulators mobile charge value is very less, so it acts as an insulator. That ebonite, cooker handles, no, cooking utensils handles, so ebonite is an example for insulators. And for semiconductors, how it is classified we are going to see. And in insulators it have the resistivity is 10 to the power 11 to it have 10 to the power 11 to 10 to the power 19 ohm meter. So this is the resistivity value in insulators. And the conductivity is, sorry, this is resistivity and this is conductivity. Conductivity is very less, 10 to the power minus 11 to 10 to the power minus 19 Simon meter inverse. Okay, so based on the conductivity and resistivity, the materials are broadly classified into three types. One is the metals, another one is semiconductors, third one is insulators. So frequently they are asking these values in MCQs. Not only in MCQ, some 2 more questions also they ask. So please keep remembering these values, it's very important. It's enough to remember only the resistivity. If you remember the resistivity of the metals, the reciprocal is for conductivity. Similarly for other materials. Now the semiconductor classifications. This semiconductor is broadly classified into three types. It has three types. Yes, we will study separately about the semiconductors. How the semiconductors are classified. Classification of semiconductors. So it is classified into two types. One is elemental semiconductor. The second one is compound semiconductor. And for an elemental semiconductor, the examples are germanium, silicon, etc. Mostly germanium, silicon alone we are going to study. So the semiconductors have two types. One is the elemental semiconductor, another one is compound semiconductors. But compound semiconductors have three types. What are the three types of compound semiconductors? The first one is inorganic. Inorganic semiconductor. For that example, okay, there are three types of compound semiconductors: inorganic, organic, and organic polymer. Organic, and C is organic polymers. Okay, so for each we are going to see the examples. In an inorganic, cadmium sulfide, and then cadmium selenium, then gallium arsenide, indium phosphide, etc. So these are the example of inorganic semiconductors. Gallium, cadmium sulfide, cadmium selenium, gallium arsenide, indium phosphide, etc. Similarly, for organic semiconductors, the examples are anthracene, and doped phthalocyanine. Doped phthalocyanine. Okay, these are all organic semiconductors. Organic polymers. Yes, for organic polymers, mostly poly is a word comes. Polypyrrole, polyaniline, and polythiophene, etc. Okay, so the word poly, so that is organic polymers. Once again I repeat, the semiconductors only we are going to study in this lessons. We are going to study very detailed about only the elemental semiconductors. Okay, even we can study, but these inorganic semiconductors and all you are going to study in your college level, higher studies you are going to learn. So we are going to stop in these lessons only up to the elemental semiconductors, mostly about germanium and silicon. The second type of semiconductor is compound semiconductors, that is further classified into three types. One is inorganic, then organic, then organic polymers. In inorganic, the cadmium sulfide, cadmium selenium, gallium arsenide, indium phosphates are the examples. And organic semiconductors, anthracene and doped phthalocyanines. What is the meaning of the word doped? Doped means addition of some things, that is adding some impurities, which we are going to study very detailed in the upcoming classes. Then third one is organic polymers. For that example, polypyrrole, polyaniline, polythiophene, etc. Okay. Okay, coming to the next topic, it's energy band. So from the energy band only the lesson begins. So listen carefully. I think already you may studied this in chemistry, but we are going to study in a detailed manner. Okay, mostly the bands from the band theory of solids. So first, energy bands. What are energy bands? Inside each crystal, what is a crystal? Crystal is normally anything which is made up of some elements. That element may be made up of some atoms. So the single atom, like let us consider the silicon, it's an atom, and now we can say it is two or three atoms combined together, we can say element. Similarly, many elements combined together, that is with the n number of atoms joined together, we can say it is, what is it? It's a crystal. Okay, so atom, element, and this is a compound. Not only the compounds, this is a single crystals. So the crystal contains n number of electrons. Okay, so from that, what is the energy level? The energy band, that is inside the crystal, each electron has unique position. Okay, each electron has unique position, and no two electrons are in exact same patterns of its surrounding charges. Okay, mostly it is from the Pauli's exclusion principle, and each electron has a different energy level, and the continuous various form is called energy bands. Okay, so now we are going to study in a detail. Let us consider a silicon atom. Silicon atom that contains 14 electrons in it. So how the electrons are arranged in this silicon? Look at the atomic structure. This is a nucleus that is tightly bounded. So around the nucleus have cells or an orbit. So these are all the orbit or the cells. We used to represent as K cell, L cell and M cell. It goes on like this. So in the K cells, how many electrons are possible? Mostly 2 electrons. 1, 2. Similarly in L cell, 8 electrons are possible. So the 8 electron that occupies in this L cell. Okay, so for 2 plus 8, 10, the remaining 4 electrons that occupies in the M cells, that is outermost orbit, 1, 2, 3 and 4. Okay, so in this, the outermost cell, that is called valence orbit, okay, and the electrons located in this orbit is called valence electrons. So this is valence orbit, and the electron located in this orbits are called valence electrons. And how similarly we are going to study the sodium atoms, like the silicon, we are going to study the sodium atoms. According to band theory, from a sodium atom, how the electrons are located. Already we know each electron has a unique directions and no electron is similar to other electrons, and each electron has a particular energy levels. According to band theory, now we are going to study the one more examples. So this is for sodium atom. For sodium, the number of electron is 11. So these 11s are occupies in the cells like 1s, 2s, 2p, 3s, 3p. So like this the electrons going to locate. So how electrons are positioned in the sodium atom? So first, single sodium atom. In a single sodium atoms, look at that, the energy bands, one s, next one is 2s, 2p, 3s and 3p. So 11 electrons, how it's going to accommodate in this? So in our 1s, 2 electrons occupies. Similarly in a 2s, 2 electron occupies. So 4, so 11 minus 4, the remaining we have 7, no? Yes. In that 7, in 2p, 6 electron occupies, and remaining only 1 electron that occupies in the 3s. That is in, so here the 3s is valence. Similarly, the 2 sodium atom combined together, how it looks? This is for a single sodium atom. For a single sodium atom. Similarly, 2 sodium atom, if it combines together, then how the structure is? The overlapping of the 2 atoms looks like this. So here it is into 1s and 1s star, and this is 2s and 2s star, then 2p and 2p star, then 3s and 3s star. Okay. So for a first sodium atom, one sodium atom combining with the other sodium atom, the combination of 2 sodium atoms, it looks like this. The combination of 2 sodium atoms looks like this. For first sodium atoms, the electron like this, and for second it will be like this. So it got over. Okay. Similarly for 2s, 2 electrons, no. So this is for a first sodium atom, and for second sodium atom like this. And in a 2p, for a first sodium atom, 6 electrons, it occupies like this, and 2p it is different, so it occupies like this. Similarly 3s, here 1 electrons, and for another one sodium atom, another 1 electrons. So likewise the atoms are combining together and it becomes a crystal, so sodium crystal. So now we are going to see the structure of sodium crystal. Which means a combination of n number of atoms in it. So in a sodium atom, how it looks like this? Listen. Yes, 1s, 2s, 2p. Yes, right. So many electrons were joined together. Here the sodium metal looks like this, just like a flake. The three-dimensional structures. This is a sodium crystal. So in a sodium crystal, n number of electrons are there. So this is 1s. So 2n electrons are there. This is 2s. So in 2s also 2n electrons are there, and this is for 2p. In 2p 6n electrons are there. So all the electrons, each electrons are unique but different energy levels, all will be looks very closer. So now we can say this is the energy bands. So it looks very closer. So these diagrams according to band theory. Okay, so from that we have studied what is the energy band. Similarly, valence band and conduction bands. Already we saw valence. What is the valence? The extra electrons in this outer orbit is called valence electron. So the corresponding orbit is called valence orbit, and by these combinations, from the valence electrons mostly filled partially or completely. Okay, then the band is called valence band. So what is a valence band? In the outermost orbit, if there are extra electrons, that extra electrons is responsible for the mobility. So the particular band is called valence band, and above the valence band, the band is called conduction bands, because due to some external energy is given to the valence band, then electrons gains energy that goes from the valence band to the next band through a gap, that is called energy gap. Okay, so we have studied only the energy band, but what is a valence band, what is a conduction band, what is the energy gap? So three things we are going to study. One is valence band, the next one is conduction band, then energy gap, e.g. energy gap. So what is a valence band? Mostly the extra electrons in the outermost orbit of the atom is called valence band. So the valence band may filled partially or completely with electrons. So it may filled partially or completely with the electrons. The second one is conduction bands. So mostly the conduction bands may be empty or may not be empty, but how the conduction band receives electrons means, on a valence band the electrons are located, mostly it is in a ground state like. Due to external factors, the electrons gains energy that goes above, that is to the upper band, it is called, and it occupies there. So when how many electrons goes from the valence band to the conduction band, that much empty space are created. So those empty space are called vacancies or holes. Okay, mostly electron charge is negative. So due to the external factors, from a valence band the electrons gains energy that goes to the upper band is called conduction band. So in that places, if two electrons goes there, that is to conduction band, then two empty space are created. These empty space are called holes. Mostly it is positive charge. Okay, so the second one is conduction band. Between the valence band and the conduction band there is a space provided. It may be different for the different material. For metals it is like one thing, and for semiconductors it is like a different way, and for insulators still it is different. So the space between the two bands is different for different materials. This is called energy gap or forbidden energy levels. Okay, so the energy gap is different for different materials. So how the energy gap is differ for different materials, that we are going to see in the next classes.